Is social emotional learning essential? And what is the impact of social emotional learning on bullying? My name is Margot Procell, and I'm studying teaching at Pace University. Last year, I did an internship or an observation inside a school in an urban setting. And in this school, they had social emotional learning. And this was something that I was sort of familiar with, but I hadn't seen the lessons taught as directly as I did in this school. They even had a classroom dedicated to social emotional learning that had plenty of strategies for the kids to use. The kids really benefited, and even in academic time, I saw that the students had a strong bond and felt like they could share and learn together. And it definitely had an impact on how certain bullying incidents were responded to. So I wanted to share some ways that social emotional learning has a positive effect that also impacts bullying by reducing it and changing the response that teachers have to it, preventing the reoccurrence of bullying incidents. So that's basically what my paper's about, and I'm going to go over some of those things here. So first, it's important that we're on the same page. What is SEL, or social emotional learning? Well, I found a quote from one of the published documents that I used in my research. And it says social and emotional learning, or SEL, involves acquiring and effectively applying the knowledge, attitudes, and skills to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. Some critical skills include self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. And in this little circle here that you see, it says that self-management, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness are the core competencies of social emotional learning. Those are the things that teachers focus on in these social emotional learning lessons. To know what social emotional learning is, I wanted to share some experience that I have with it. So this semester I've been working with a certain classroom virtually of fifth graders, and I even created an impulse control lesson for this class. I found a book because there's a lot of literature dedicated now to social emotional learning, and I did a read aloud where I also worked on that core competency, and I worked on impulse control. And in New York State, for example, there are certain competencies, and it shows in which grade level what that looks like. So for first grader, impulse control could look very different than it would for an 11th grader. So there are different standards for it, but in my opinion, we need more standardization, which I'll get to later. So I wanted to share some statistics related to bullying before I begin, to show how big of an issue it is in our society. 1 in 5 U.S. students between the ages of 12 and 18 are bullied. Kids who are bullied often experience depression and anxiety, and only 20% of bullying incidents are actually reported. And that's often due to a lack of comfortability or the attitude in a certain culture of not being a snitch. So definitely there are some challenges when it comes to bullying actually being reported by other students or by the student who's being bullied. I'm going to share with you 2 of the main benefits of social emotional learning, or the main category of benefits that I found to have the greatest impact on bullying. There are plenty of other benefits. For example, social emotional learning can help students academically. It helps them with their confidence. But I'm going to share 2 things. One is going to be about the positive relationships that are built and how that can impact bullying. And the second is going to be about the classroom climate and how the establishing of a positive and safe classroom climate can affect the rates of bullying and the response to bullying. So my studies revealed that social emotional learning has a great impact on the establishing of positive relationships within the classroom. So one of the people I interviewed, who was a teacher, shared about community circles, and this is where students talk about certain issues they're experiencing or just certain opinions on things, and they share their perspectives. Now, this is very important to building positive relationships because the teacher also participates. So it strengthens the teacher's relationship with the students and also gives the students a safe space to build their relationships with each other beyond just academics. It also creates stronger peer and student-teacher relationships through different curriculum in social emotional learning, different strategies like community circles, but also through different bonding activities that are done in the classroom to build those essential skills. Teachers provide opportunities for students to make connections. In social emotional learning, kids are given opportunities to work on their social awareness and build bonds with each other. And social emotional learning is shown to improve pro-social skills because, of course, they're working on those through those competencies. They're working on their own self-awareness and their social awareness as well. So how do those positive relationships impact bullying? Well, students with strong peer and teacher relationships are more likely to report bullying incidents, and teachers cannot respond to bullying incidents unless they observe it or it is reported by another student. And it's even shown that when bystanders intervene in a bullying situation, the majority of the times it ends the situation right there. So teachers who have a bond with their students can identify signs of bullying. Now, this is definitely true because if you don't know your students, you might not notice the many warning signs that that student is being bullied, such as them not finding enjoyment in daily activities or avoiding school. And finally, I discovered a study that actually showed that positive teacher-student relationships can prevent bullying as well as lessen the effects of bullying. So this is very significant because it actually showed that teachers are a great support system to students and they can help them to manage the negative effects if the student is being bullied, can also prevent bullying from occurring in the first place because they're having strong relationships with the students and they're more likely to feel included rather than outcast, which can prevent a student from engaging in a bullying behavior. So clearly, there are many benefits to positive teacher-student relationships. So the next benefit that I wanted to talk about was how social and emotional learning improves the classroom climate. So it creates a safe environment through positive relationships, which we just talked about, and the building of pro-social skills, which is part of many of the competencies of social and emotional learning. And it also enables students to share emotions in a positive way, rather than aggressive behavior. So it puts tools in that toolbox of each student that says, I don't have to react in an aggressive way or a violent way, and rather I can actually react to this using my words and expressing how I feel instead of reacting in a negative way. So students learn to seek positive attention, which is what a social worker that I interviewed told me, that students learn to seek positive attention and that this has great benefits because students do need attention. So often the students that are bullies are looking for attention and so they engage in bullying. Restorative discipline teaches students to learn from their mistakes. So just like you may have heard of restorative justice in prisons, restorative discipline works in a way that the students actually are being disciplined based on what they've done. So instead of just saying they're going to be suspended, we'll say, well, they had an outburst in class and ended up breaking something. So let's have them fix it and maybe write a letter and do things that are actually going to put them on a track to not act in that same way again. So the impact on bullying of the classroom climate is that studies show that students that engage in bullying behavior often feel outcast and look to control the environment they're in. So creating a calm and respectful environment can prevent this. They won't feel the need to control the environment because the environment is controlled. And well-managed classrooms are less likely to have bullying for many reasons. Well, one, the teacher can really set a climate of respect in the classroom and have great expectations for the students to respect each other and have empathy. Restorative discipline reduces the rate of bullying because instead of just suspending them and making them more upset and feel more outcast, you're actually giving them opportunities to work with a counselor or with a teacher on skills that are going to prevent them from engaging in that bullying behavior again. So now that you understand the impact on bullying, I wanted to talk about some challenges because with implementing social emotional learning, there have been challenges. And one study that I found showed that teachers that do not believe in the social emotional learning or do not feel like they've had proper training are very unlikely to have a positive impact even using the curriculum because they are showing an attitude to the students of insecurity or not really buying in. So the buy-in to this social emotional learning is extremely important, but I'm going to just iterate some of those challenges here. So some of the challenges or roadblocks to this implementation of the social emotional learning curriculum in the classroom is that one of them is that teachers want more resources and training. So like I said, they feel like maybe they haven't had enough, or even though they've had practice and scripted practice. They just feel like they need more support and training. Another is the lack of consistency due to school scheduling choices. So the social worker that I talked to and interviewed told me that oftentimes the schools don't implement the social emotional learning in a consistent way, which greatly changes the impact of it on the students because they need consistency. It needs to be done every day or almost every day. And the last one, which is part of my call to action here, is the lack of standardization in schools. If schools could standardize, just like they standardize other things, a period of the day that would be for social emotional learning and a required curriculum or choice of curriculum, they would really have a great benefit because it would show how much more impact this could have, especially in urban settings, but also in any setting of school. So I'm going to end here with this real call to action. So social emotional learning is essential to student development and has the potential to reduce the rate of bullying and improve the response to bullying. And this response is improved by students and teachers. So social emotional learning needs to be consistent. So for that reason, my call here is that it should be standardized across the country. There are plenty of opinions on standardization, but by standardizing a social emotional learning curriculum or choice of curriculum, that would be key to ensuring the fidelity of instruction for all students. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope that this really shows you why social emotional learning is so important, especially in this time when a lot of kids are at home. We can still do this instruction. We can still help them to build these pro-social skills and self-regulation. And these are life skills that are important for their entire life and impacts their academics greatly as well. So I really hope that you understand why I believe that standardization is important. We want every child, no matter how wealthy or unwealthy the district is, no matter what region of the country the district is in, we want all students to have access to these very important life skill building opportunities, and it would really reduce the rate of bullying across the country. So I thank you for watching this again, and I hope that you understand that standardization is a major way that we can ensure the fidelity and ensure that all students are having the same access to social emotional learning in their classrooms. Thank you.